Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
How you doing?
Pretty good. Good to see you after taking a week off for Thanksgiving holiday.
Indeed, yeah. Does this podcast feel like work to you?
Not usually, no.
Yeah. I was thinking about that this morning where I woke up and I was like, what's on my calendar? I was like, oh yeah, AOP, first thing. I almost felt like guilty for a second where I was like, well, that's just podcast. That's just fun.
Yeah.
I'm not doing any work in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have that?
I generally feel that way. Sometimes I get a little self-conscious about my updates. So I'll have a background thread spinning on that. Like, how can I make my update as good as last week? If I feel like I have a good episode the prior week, and the next week it's like, oh man, I gotta top that.
Yeah, you need 7% growth every week. That's the startup way.
Exactly.
Every update must be 7% better.
Yeah.
I guess this is actually good, right? Because I know for sure the podcast is a good marketing, community building kind of effort that we do. Like, we get a lot of customers who heard about it through the podcast. I think it makes people a little more bought into the journey, yada, yada, yada. I'm pretty convinced it's a good thing that at least from my side, that I'm doing for Tuple. But at the same time, it just feels like fun and easy. And so I'm always like, but is this really work if I don't hate it?
Mm-hmm. There's something maybe buried deep in your psychology about the American work ethic or something that's like causing that to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, when I talk to various people and coaches and stuff, they usually kind of celebrate this fact. They're like, you like doing marketing things. You're a programmer that likes doing marketing things. That's pretty rare. You should be glad that that's true and not not feeling guilty about it. But somehow I managed to turn it into a negative.
Honestly, that's kind of what I'm going for most of my job. I want a good outcome for the business in the long term, but I also want to enjoy the journey, which is something that is very, very much a bootstrapper ethos kind of thing to care about,
Yeah. I mean, that's very much our stated goal. We started a company because we wanted to have a good professional and life. And then when I'm like, well, I'm doing the thing I think is fun. It's like, oh, but can it really be good if it's pleasurable? It's a weird way to think.
Yeah.
Well, here we are. Let's do it anyway, even if it is fun.
I'm glad you enjoy this podcast. I do too.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So I got some more video game coaching.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yes.
Coach all the things.
That's my thing. Get coaches for everything. I've been working with this coach that I really like. He's coaching me on Overwatch. The main coaching strategy is to watch replays of games I played and sort of stop and notice things and rewind and talk about it moments and look for sort of good things and bad things to talk about. That technique, I think, works for basically everything. So here's the bad news. The bad news is watching yourself do something can be really painful.
Agonizing.
Can be agonizing, yeah. Particularly listening to podcast episodes. I'm over it now. Now I like it. But watching yourself on video, listening to yourself, watching you do a thing is almost always awkward for people. It never feels that fun to me. I'm never like, oh, I can't wait to watch a replay of a thing I did previously. It's feels a little bit like a chore. But I think for every field I've tried this in, like singing, podcasting, games, it's yielded really good results. Because when I watch a replay of myself play these games, it is incredibly obvious some of the mistakes I'm making. I don't even need the coach at times where I'm like, oh yeah, he'll just stop. He'll pause a thing after something happens. I go, yep, yeah, totally. I don't know what I was thinking there. Because your brain at the moment is so absorbed in the moment, it's too hard to get up to the next level of calmly analyzing what you're doing and paying attention and catching the flaws. It kind of connected for me how valuable this was, and then how often people ask us to add recording to Tuple.
Oh,
they want to be able to watch their sessions after the fact.
Interesting.
And it's okay, if this works everywhere else, why wouldn't this work in pairing? It certainly could. Oddly, this video game coaching experience is pushing the recording feature higher in my mental roadmap of useful things to add to Tuple.
That's very Rahul of you to pull in gaming analogies into business.
Yes, right, exactly.
Yeah. That's pretty interesting. Do you feel like you can get a lot of the benefit of the kind of retrospective watch your prior performance or prior, work on your own? Or how essential do you feel like the coach is in getting a lot of value out of that exercise?
The coach definitely ups it a lot. It's probably twice as useful to watch it with a coach because there are certainly things I spot, but there are things that he spots that I don't quite notice. It's definitely better. But the fact that you could get, 50% of the value just by doing it yourself could be quite a lot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. I remember talking to a friend of mine who does like SaaS sales, and the amount of tooling in the sales space is just insane. But I think I think the app's called Gong, and it like will record every single sales call and then transcribe it via AI and like figure out what words you're saying that leads to what different points in the sales process. And it's insane the amount of like data and analytics they're putting behind that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great example. I think this is like very common in the sales world, is to like, watch your performance after the fact and analyze it and like get coached on it and have it like in sales in particular. I know they're like a pretty popular move is like take the person who's performing the best and then have everyone watch their calls and like, what is this person doing that I need to be doing?
Right.
I think culturally that has not quite spread to programming as strongly. I think it's kind of getting there with like there are more and more people streaming themselves programming, which I think is useful. So you can get more of this now. I think it can be really potent. It's part of me feels like, shouldn't I just be able to notice this in the moment? Like, shouldn't watching it after the fact be kind of dull, or not useful because like I already experienced it. Like what? But it turns out like it's like there's so much processing power consumed in the moment by responding in real time to everything that you can't do as good an analysis as you could if you were sort of calmly sitting there watching what you were doing.
Right. And when people have requested recording, is it for this reason, or are they wanting to create screencasts, or like what's the use case that people talk about?
It's actually an interesting spread of reasons, I think. Probably the most common thing that triggers this is actually people like doing mentoring. So like they're like mentoring a junior person or whatnot, and they want to give them a record of that for after the fact. I think people have requested it without saying why. I would have to dig in more and see what they're hoping. I've had some people have asked for like the ability to stream right from it to something like Twitch, which I think is similar but different. That's just sort of an interesting connection that happened to me.
When I hear about like how the sales world operates with that kind of constantly inspecting prior performance and stuff, it might take some of the joy out of my job if like everything was being inspected, even just inspected by me. But I do feel like it's something I could probably, or a lot of people could get more comfortable with, recognizing that there's a lot of value in it. Just like anything else, just like listening to yourself podcast or whatever,
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, if you're doing code reviews as part of your process, like I will sometimes write some code and then review it myself and then be like, oh, I don't actually like this. I should change this because the me who's calmly reviewing it is different than the me that wrote it.
Yeah.
So we making a lot of progress on 3-player mode, which is what we're calling it now. So instead of you have this sort of weirdly limited observer that you can add to a call, the differences between your like guest, your full featured guest, and your observer are getting fewer and fewer. And I think basically in a week we're going to ship like the full thing.
Wow, congrats. Question I've been wanting to ask you about this feature. Like technically speaking, is 3-player mode significantly different than just like N-player mode, where you can have any number of people on the call?
So after the refactorings that we did to make it 3-player mode, there are fewer and fewer differences on the like, how do we handle a bunch of people having mouse cursors or sending keyboard events or things like that? Those have kind of become N-way things. The real tricky bit of going to really N users, or one of them because there are multiple, is how do you structure the network connections? So with 3, we have a mesh where it's just like, it's still peer-to-peer. The host is streaming their desktop to the other 2 people, and then like the webcam and the sound and all that is kind of just flowing between the peers. We want to run some tests with 4. I think we could potentially get away with a mesh network with 4 people. Maybe not. It depends on how your bandwidth is. But definitely beyond that, and maybe even at 4, you sort of need to transition to like a client-server architecture. And that changes the equation hugely in terms of what does it cost us to host a tuple call? What does our infrastructure need to look like to support this? And also just like code changes in the tuple app itself, because it's a different way of operating.
Yeah, because presumably that's how Zoom and all the major like video conferencing platforms are doing. Like when it's beyond a couple of people, it has to go through a server, right? Like,
yeah. Yeah, it's just it becomes prohibitive if you have a mesh network with a bunch of people in it. And that is why Zoom is such a valuable company, is because that technology and architecture is hard.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
It looks simple on the surface. It's like, what? It's just a Brady Bunch tiles of people's video and audio meshed together. How hard could it be?
Right. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Going to true like n number of participants is probably a pretty heavy lift, or we know it is. It is a heavy lift.
Yeah, but probably not necessary for pairing or mobbing, even. Right.
We get a lot of requests for it. I think part of that is just that it's the easiest thing to think about. Like, it's the clearest limit of the software. So I think it's kind of like if you ask someone, what should we do? They're like, oh, well, like remove this limit that is very in your face. But also I think people do want it. When I dig into it, it's usually for mobbing. I'm surprised at how often people are asking for this for mob programming. And then I'll like kind of say like, how big a group do you usually do this with? And it's rarely more than 4. So maybe that like it's not really like n, it's really just like 4, which would be kind of nice because we might be able to just get away with that as a mesh network, possibly. It's requested surprisingly often. You would think with a pairing app, I think some of it honestly is people wanting to use Tuple for more than pairing.
Yeah, my hypothesis was like, it's an app that's in your dock. It's so easy to just click the little drop down, see all your people, hit the call button. That's a big shift in roadmap just to support, people misusing the product or not using it for its intended use case. But I mean, that's kind of what happened. I mean, you look at like Slack, right? It started out like just IRC with storage, and then gradually like people just started running their entire businesses on it. It's interesting to see how use cases emerge and evolve just because people don't like having a bunch of different tools doing similar things. They like to centralize on one, and especially if you're like have a lot of goodwill and people really love Tuple for what it does today, and people can like have enough foresight to envision other areas they could use the product if it just did X, Y, and Z.
Totally. Yeah. And yeah, like if you got your whole team in your menu bar and you can call them instantly, like I could see why you're like, well, why don't we use this for stand up or like more things than just pairing it. I totally get that. I have like a weird relationship to this sort of idea where it's like I want to do it. I want to give people what they want. It also changes things pretty drastically, like in terms of complexity. It's a bit scary from the like, do we want this additional complexity in our lives? Like, it kind of brings me back to this question that I've had in my head for a long time, which is like, can it be right to say no to a feature that lots of your users want and ask for all the time? And then what do you mean by right here is like kind of critical, but like the obvious thing to do is to give the people the thing they want and are asking for a lot. If you suspect it's going to have downstream effects that are some positive and some negative, you have to weigh that. It's like the people pleaser in me wants to give it them, of course. But also it's like we do have some concerns about what the world might look like if we did.
And people will request things and they have varying degrees of like actually like what's the downside of not satisfying those requests, right? Like if they just want it because it'd be cool. And of course, it would be a little slightly more convenient for them, but it's not like they're a churn risk because you don't build certain things like that, So,
yeah,
necessarily, yeah. I mean, maybe in the long term, right? But those are generally like, if Tuple can't do exactly what Zoom can do, people who are using it for pairing today aren't going to cancel tomorrow. Maybe in like 5 years or something, or some long term horizon. But yeah,
it makes us less attractive, right? If you have to have 2 tools instead of 1. I think there'd be benefits for sure. It's interesting. If we were like a funded company, I feel like we wouldn't stop to ask, like, does this create a kind of thing we don't really want to work on as much? We would just say, people want it, let's do it. But I almost feel like because we have more freedom and flexibility, this makes it a trickier decision, whereas like we get to think about it more and decide.
Yeah, but I think that's what a lot of product development is saying no a majority of the time. Even funded companies, I mean, there's only so many areas of responsibility they can take on because as we've opined on many times, building software is hard, right? Building high quality software.
Totally. And then it's like people ask for this because like for many reasons, but I think part of it is just like it's an obvious thing to ask for. When you ask for something like this, you don't think, I would like this. And also it's okay if future development is 20% slower because of the additional complexity of this feature exposes. You just think like, yeah, I want to add a 4th person. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Yeah. The people in that from that perspective, don't have an entire perspective on the actual holistic like opportunity cost, because you're a finite set of resources building this solution. So there's going to be a trade-off.
Right. Now we have infrastructure. So do we need to hire someone to run the infrastructure, like to report on it, to give analytics, to maintain it, to all this stuff? Now the company itself has another person. It increases our communication requirements. It reduces profit. It's like there's all these things where it's like it's iceberg kind of thing.
Yeah. And I feel like you have a lot of these potential large bets in front of you, areas you could invest. Like you could go for ubiquitous operating system support, and that would be probably similar lines of complexity, because now you're maintaining code bases that operate under different environments. And I imagine that's a pouring concrete kind of decision, right? To use the Basecamp parlance. And feels like this many player mode would be a similar type of decision that's hard to reverse, or hard to reduce the complexity of once you commit to it. So
this would be a hard MVP kind of thing. Like there's a bunch of things that would have to happen to just even try it. So it's not even like a lightweight kind of V1 thing, I don't think. But then again, I don't know. It's people want it.
Yeah.
Let's make the customers happy. Let's go.
We're nearing the end of the year. You guys are doing your retreat still, right? Is that coming up?
We're going to do it shortly after the beginning of the year.
Okay.
But yeah, I think this will for sure come up.
Yeah.
I feel like one of the big projects of 2021 is kind of the main point. I think that's the most important thing to talk about, actually, along with our own happiness and such.
Right. Yeah. I imagine that's kind of just a natural point to think about some, potentially a big initiative, right?
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
Even just like deciding like, okay, not this, but yes, this, and like probably not this quarter, but maybe this quarter kind of thing would be useful. Just have a plan there. Because sometimes it's nice if people are like, oh, I really want this. Like, okay, yeah, we agree later this year kind of thing is better than thanks for the feedback.
Right. Yeah.
People have asked me that for things like Linux. They're like, is this even on the roadmap? Is it like, should I think that maybe this comes someday, or should I just not even want it? Or so people are looking for guidance. Yeah.
It is nice to be able to give at least some kind of answer that's not the vaguest answer in the world to that kind of question,
Yeah.
Like
totally. Yeah. So what's going on in your world?
Well, things are continuing to roll along for SavvyCal. Let's see. Probably one of the biggest things I did in the last couple of weeks, or I did it this week, I guess. I launched a free trial, 7-day free trial.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
So this is just turning the dial up slightly on, making it easier for people to get a taste of the value up front before paying. Corey and I kind of batted this around, like what length of trial would be appropriate. And we felt like it was kind of somewhere between 7 and 14, because once you have your links set up, which you can do all of the setup before activating your trial, then it's just a matter of like sending it to someone and having a good experience with like scheduling a thing and potentially having that meeting. And that's very likely to come, pretty quickly. With Drip, and we were thinking about figuring out a trial length, it was like, how long does it take for someone to, install a JavaScript snippet on their website, start collecting email addresses, send some email campaigns, write a couple emails. And so there was a lot more to do to get to like that point of really feeling successful with the product. And we determined like it was about 21 days on average that it took people to reach that point. So that's how we kind of backed into a trial length. Kind of ended up going on the shorter end with 7 days. And an interesting thing happened after shipping this. So I haven't actually announced it yet to the broader user base yet, or the people, I guess, who haven't converted yet, because I want to send out a product updates email kind of recapping November and do that in tandem. But I did tweet about it. So some people, saw that. And of course, people who hit the billing page see now you have two options. I left in the option to upgrade immediately. So you can that's still like the primary call to action is just upgrade now. And it takes you to a checkout page that doesn't have a trial. And next to it is a start a 7-day free trial button. And after shipping it, the next couple of customers who converted didn't use the trial. They just upgraded immediately, which I thought was interesting. And then I was talking to a friend and he was like, yeah, there might be some like interesting psychology to that. Like people when people only have one option, they're in some cases more likely to hesitate to do it. But if you give them multiple options, they'll pick still the primary one, but like feel like better that they have multiple options in front of them or something. So it'll be interesting to see if this ends up being like some kind of, growth hack just to encourage people to still click the original upgrade immediately button or not. So I need more data on that to see how it's going to flesh out. But
yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I'm trying to picture myself in that situation. I could almost see myself just upgrading too. Just being like, I know I'm going to use this. It's fine.
Yeah.
And like you might be building goodwill by having that option there, but people don't take you up on it that often. Do you need to enter a credit card for the trial?
You do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm giving you a card either way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
It'd be funny if you added that and like people just didn't use it.
I know.
But then upgraded more often. That would be quite a result.
I know. Like I couldn't really give a great reason why. I have seen this done before where you have the option to immediately upgrade or start a trial. That was a decision point. Like, do I just funnel everyone through the same path and like everyone gets a 7-day trial, or do I let the user select? And it's not like I, need their revenue 7 days earlier. Like there's not a dire reason to have that. It just felt right to give people the ability to financially commit even earlier if they were willing to, or just, I don't know, maybe just wanted to feel like I got this locked in. I don't have to worry about, something trying to charge my card in a week. Like it's done. I know I'm going to use it.
Oddly, there's something about the certainty of just like, all right, I'm paying for it versus like, I have to remember that I'm in a free trial.
Yeah.
I wonder, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Did you think about a different metric for a trial? Like your first 3 appointments or something?
Yeah, we did. We batted that around a little bit, and that's still kind of on the table for like a more of a freemium play, I guess, where it's like constrained by something. I mean, what they generally do, tools that have freemium in this space generally like limit the number of scheduling links you can create. It's like Calendly's like 2, I think. I went back and forth on that. Like I don't like the idea of like incentivizing people to not use the product well during their trial. And like one of the things that a lot of people do is they tend to create more links in SavvyCal than they do in Calendly because they're inherently lighter weight. You can personalize them. It's just easier I intentionally made it easier to do that. So it's kind of best practice to spin up a bunch of links or not be afraid to spin them up. So like if I constrained that and people didn't get to experience that workflow in their trial, then that doesn't feel good. Like it feels like they're just not getting a good taste of the product,
Yeah. I was thinking just more like if the time that someone gets value is when someone actually books a couple meetings with them. That's really like when they would probably be able to make the best decision as to, hey, am I ready to purchase this?
Yeah,
versus
potentially
7 days. We have the same thing, by the way. Like we do a time-based trial, but then like sometimes people get sort of stuck in onboarding. They don't quite invite people. They don't do calls. Like we should probably have this as well.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of it's the interesting balance between like keeping a good amount of time pressure, but not so much pressure that it's demotivating to customers. Like I want them to feel a little bit of sense of urgency to get it set up and start using it, as opposed to just like, the tripwire happens where they flip over from trial to paid once they've booked a certain number, because then they could kind of drag their feet on that and just, so I don't know. Trials are helpful for kind of nudging people to activate quicker because they know a payment is coming, So yeah, I mean, all of this kind of up for debate. One of the things that the drawbacks with the fixed number of meeting things is like, it would be a bummer if, they hit 3 and they had sent this link out to a bunch of people, say the limit was 3, and then 3 gets booked and then something goes wrong with their payment or something. And then it's like, do we cut their link off after they hit the limit, or do we have a grace period? And then there's like, what's the grace period actually? How is it enforced? And I don't know. It just gets kind of tricky.
Yeah,
so
that's fair.
This felt like the simplest way to dip my toe in the trial game.
I would put money that 2 years from now it's exactly the same.
You think?
Yeah, because this is like I feel like the MVP on like pricing and such like tends to be like you ship it and it works well enough, and then like that it's on to other things.
Unless you're a bug in my ear constantly encouraging me to test my pricing, which
which hasn't really worked so far. So,
oh, I know you wanted me to default to annual, right? That was your big push this time,
especially if you get a trial now,
right? That conversation we had is still rolling through my head. We had a couple of weeks ago where it's like I take comfort in the monthly check-in as opposed to potentially having zombie customers who have paid annual but are at high churn risk because they're not actually using the product. That's the main reason why I didn't do that immediately, but at least right now I'm feeling like open to experimenting with this. So I hope I do play with stuff. Corey is a good like encourager in that too. He always wants to test stuff. He's a good marketer. So that's what good marketers do, I think.
Yeah. One thing we see is sometimes people will sign up, go through the trial, not really use it that much, and then email us after they get charged. Like, oh, I meant to cancel this. Can you refund this? Like, I suspect you'll see that as well. It's like the whole like zombie thing can kind of happen. And sometimes it's a couple months later, like, oh, I thought I canceled this back in whatever, but can you refund the last 3, whatever? So you can still kind of get that zombie revenue a little bit. But I wonder if after this trial, we're going to charge you for a year of this might spur more people to pay more attention and like give it a real shot. Like, all right, I have to make sure I know if I want them to charge this or not. It's almost like I wonder if the bigger payment would cause more serious usage during the trial.
Yeah. I could see that.
Well, it's great that you added a trial and no one's using it.
Yeah.
Congrats.
So that was the first couple, and now there's been a few more, and so it's about 50-50 right now on clicking the upgrade now versus trial. So still very, very small numbers. I'll report back next week on what the ratio is looking like.
Okay.
Maybe it was just anomaly. We'll see.
Could be.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of great if it's not.
Yeah.
I wonder what we could offer people that they would not take us up on.
Right. Yeah. The best kind of offer, right? Yeah. And then I guess the other big thing that we got shipped was some competitor comparison pages.
Yes.
Which, and that's kind of like a big thing to check off. I feel like, especially when entering a competitive space, naturally a lot of people just want to know, how are you different, and so it's like you're doing yourself a big favor by just like putting the effort into that to at least start to build up your case for how you're different. And so we did a Calendly one, and actually have one comparing against Meeting Bird, which is a little bit more of an obscure tool. I think they got acquired shortly after launching like 3 years ago, but they are shutting down at the end of December, like December 21st. I have several people using SavvyCal right now who were Meeting Bird users, and I think I have like just happen to have good alignment of what SavvyCal can do and what Meeting Bird could do, that it feels like a good alternative for them. And so we built that comparison page for them too, and then we're gonna experiment with some Twitter ads to basically try to appeal to people who might perhaps be Meeting Bird users looking for an alternative.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Be interesting to hear how that goes.
Yeah.
I assume Corey is running those, or will be running those.
Yep. So those will probably kick off in the next couple of days here.
Interesting. Feels like you've got a little bit of momentum going.
Yeah. Yesterday, I decided to translate the Calendly comparison page into a Twitter thread. Just laying in bed, had the idea. I was like, what I'm going to do tomorrow? I'm going to try a thread and see how this goes. And it's nice because the way Corey wrote the page, it was kind of like 9 basic ideas about how SavvyCal outperforms Calendly, and so they kind of fit into tweets pretty well. Could just succinctly highlight the differences. It's got a lot of lift, a lot of activity, got a flurry of signups post that. We'll see how they convert, but I think it was a successful little experiment.
Nice.
Yeah,
that page seemed great. It was good to see that you had thought about this and had answers for these things and could talk about them well.
Yeah. Thank you.
Nice. Well, anything else going on?
I think that's it for me for this week.
All right. Notes for the show?
Notes for the show can be found at artofproductpodcast.com.
Thanks for listening.
See ya.